Welcome to the Women in Exhibitions debate. It's a really important day, of course. It's Global Exhibitions Day, and it's a really good opportunity to kind of talk about some really important issues. I'm joined today by Soraya from the Montgomery Group. I've also got Claire from Shinesmith. I've got Julianne from Agenda. And I've got Kirsten from Messe Dusseldorf. Is that correct, Kirsten? Have I said that right?
It's fine.
And I've got Victoria James from a company that I used to work for, well, before, from the Hive Group. And I'm also joined by Luana Sipka from MECC Maastricht. And of course, are you the president or what's your job title, Luana?
I am Business Development Manager Exhibitions, responsible for the guest events at MECC.
Okay, and on Women in Exhibitions, you're the president, or what do you?
I am the founder of the network.
So today we're going to be talking about, I guess, as we celebrate Global Exhibitions Day, we turn our attention to the dearth of women in C-level roles, and I guess we ask, why are there not more women in very senior positions within the exhibition industry? We're also going to discuss what are the big obstacles that are keeping women out of those number one top spots in companies. And we also, this is a unique time for us. The industry is going through a significant kind of rebooting phase with lots of different lessons that are being learned. And I guess in a way, what we also want to talk about is, how the industry is evolving and changing. And is this, this is an ideal opportunity, I guess, to also have these conversations around, the big imbalances that are taking place, particularly around women in senior positions in the exhibition industry. So I'm going to kick off with a very simple and easy question, but I suspect this debate is going to get a little bit more interesting and hopefully heated. But for me, objectively, it's absolutely valuable that we come away from this with some really strong ideas, and particularly the people that are watching today, that they get some really strong ideas as to to come away from as to how they can develop their careers and their roles within their businesses. I'm Saul Leese from Exhibition News. I'm the editor of the magazine. Luana, tell us about why you set up the Women in Exhibitions Network.
Yes, first of all, thank you very much for inviting us today to this session. It's a huge opportunity for us to share our vision in terms of what we want to do with Women in Exhibitions Network. Thank you for that. Why this network? It's because we want to empower women in exhibitions. We want to help them. We want to be that community that is helping them to grow in their careers. To find the right studies to follow, and to actually really very hands-on help them grow, because we can speak about empowering women, but we are that community that is not only talking about the importance of empowering women, but is also offering certain skills and certain programs to really help them. So why Women in Exhibitions? I'm myself a huge networker. I believe in the value of having a community, of diverse community of people, and I thought this might be a good thing to do for the industry. And I was backed by my own employer and by some brilliant women in the industry who actually shared the same vision. And part of them you see here today. I'm very proud to have all of them here.
Yeah, there's been some developments, hasn't there, with
yes.
the network? I mean, you just launched a new website. Is that right?
Yes, we've launched a new website. We are planning to launch the Middle East chapter. And obviously we are active since 2018, and we already have a well-established chapter in Germany and in the way we call it the DACH area, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And yeah, right now we obviously set up at Convex the UK chapter. So there's a lot of exciting news, and yeah, I guess with the website is now more visible what we've done in the last 2 years. Yeah, the new thing that really was introduced, and that was a question also from the community, is okay, you find it important to give attention to women in the industry, but what are you doing for them? So that's when we teamed up with Shine Smith and set up a number of programs I'm very proud to be able to offer.
Oh, good. Well, we're going to talk about that in a bit more
yes,
detail. Sure. Can I ask why? Let's start with a hard, tough question. Why aren't women getting into those C-level positions in a significant number?
Yes, I think it's getting better, and I think it's very much related to a country, how that goes. I don't want to say that there are less women on the C-level, for example, in the Netherlands. That probably is not even an issue in our industry. But what I believe that happens is if you have jobs for a C-level and you have 100 men applying for the jobs and you have 10 women applying for the same jobs, the chance that a man will be chosen for the job is obviously much higher. So I believe very much in choosing the right person. So I'm not, we are not a feminist group that is only helping women. No, at the end of the story, I believe that the right person should be chosen for the job. And yeah, I believe that women simply are not daring to make the step to choose for the C-level positions. And that is where we want to invest more time in, and we want to help them to make this step, because they are really right now too much underestimating the power of the power that they have and the knowledge that they have. And if they need to rate themselves, men might rate women much higher than women themselves. So that's not correct. Yeah. I believe so. I think it's not men keeping us away from the nice jobs, it's ourselves.
Okay, so it's not a deliberate plot or plan by mankind to keep women out of powerful positions.
No. Okay. I'm very much looking forward to have the very first man in our founding members partners. So I make a call to all these nice colleagues to join us.
I'll volunteer to join. Right. Victoria, you're at Hive Group Middle East, aren't you? So yeah. Is it the same situation in the Middle East? What's your view on women and how they're progressing in the Middle East?
I mean, you could probably make some strong assumptions about who might be leading major exhibition organizers and things like this over here. I think there's a couple of things. So really on the timing, what was really interesting about when we were trying to set up our founding members panel is that more than a couple of them were saying, we tried to do something like this before and it sort of just didn't go anywhere, or they've sort of grabbed it with both hands and just said, actually, you know what, this is so timely. It makes perfect sense. And the other thing to consider is that we've got our founding members panel together, so 9-10 women that are now forming our founding members. Very, very senior women. When I say very senior, I mean probably the most senior women in the exhibitions industry, certainly in Dubai. They are all Dubai based at the moment, which we'd love to expand, but that's obviously it is a bit more of a hub in the city. And that doesn't include anyone in C-suite, and I might be wrong, but I can't. It's been a struggle to find anyone at that next level. So what we've got is a group of probably the most senior women in the region that we can gather, and it is a small number. Now, when we sort of start expanding our membership, that will change. There's an awful lot of women who contribute so much to these massive shows that take place. But just it's that sort of next step that isn't there. And so if we're able to kind of formalize a network where we can talk about it, I think that's really important. I think that's really valuable.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, when I worked for Essential, I found that there were some incredibly inspiring people. I mean, I won't say these particular people's names because I always talk about them all the time anyway. But they know who they are, and they really do deserve to be CEOs of businesses. Absolutely no doubt in my mind. Julianne, live from Germany. What's the situation in Germany? What are women making it to the top in Germany?
No, otherwise we wouldn't be here. I think the most interesting thing for us here in Germany was the fact then when we started 2 years ago that we looked each other in our eyes and we said, okay, we never thought about it. So we are all strong women. We never thought about being female or male or for whatever. We just did our job because we love our job and we were good in our jobs. That's why we were on a certain level. And but when we spoke to the first women, when we had our first network meetings, it was really impressive that we seems to see we didn't know each other. So only some of us knew each other, but the highest women, so really the C-level women, we don't even saw them on the international level. They were not here and they said, how I'm a big woman in this exhibition industry. So they were not visible. And only last year we started a survey and simply asked the organizer part, just the organizer part, not the suppliers, just the organizers. And we found out that we have more than 60% female staff, but only 16% of C-level women. So in the second level, it's not going to be better. So, and this is a situation, and we never said this is bad or whatever. We just realized it, and we thought, okay, this is definitely something we have to look at it, and we have to change it because we believe in diversity in the teams, because all industries are diverse, and we serve so many different industries, and we have to have diversity in our leadership. Otherwise, it's not good for the future.
Kirsten, you're in Germany, aren't you? You're in Dusseldorf, is that right?
Excuse me?
You're in Dusseldorf, is that
yeah.
right? So what is it? Do you mirror what Julianne's saying?
Yeah, I totally agree with her. So I think what we first noticed that it was, or it's both, as well as Oana said a little bit, it's as well that the women itself, that we are strong women, but we perhaps are too much involved to our jobs and not thinking enough of having a career. That's one part. And so it was very interesting to see that with our network, the first step really was that the women, that they that it's a real working network right now, and that we are talking to each other and now more seeing what we can do for the future. So, okay, we are lucky at Messe Düsseldorf because we now, from July on, we have the first women in C-level, but it's the first in the history of Messe Düsseldorf that we are going to have one. So you can see there's a lot of work to do.
I mean, I guess in a way, I mean, of course, there are lots and lots of sort of factors that come into play on how women can progress and through their careers. And of course, one of those is that, they have a lot of women choose to have children, and those can be, I guess, factors that, need to be taken into account. Oana, what sort of things do employers need to be thinking about to help women, and what needs to change?
Yes, I think we need to be careful with the programs that we put in place already on HR level for women to educate themselves. As we see, the women are a bit unsure of or think twice before making a step. So in that respect, I think the program should be very much related, for example, on self-branding. Nobody is going to self-brand yourself if you're not doing it yourself. Yeah, we need to show the role models within the organizations, but not only show them, really like appeal to them and tell them, listen, your assignment is to, in your teams, to promote women, to advocate women career development. And you have this role, you are a role model, so take the lead and help other women in the industry and help your teams grow, really. And I think that one other thing is when I look at women in general, because we have a lot of strong women who already have it all, vulnerability. I think we tend too much to not show that you are vulnerable and not show that and not ask for help. If you feel that you miss certain skills as a woman, go and embrace yourself with a network, with a community of women who have those skills and men who have those skills, and teach yourself, make the next step. So show your vulnerability. I'm an advocate of that. And yeah, in terms of this network, I think what we want to create is an inner circle of trust where women would go and say, okay, listen, I miss these skills, I miss this path, I want to follow this path in my career, and I want to educate myself in that, and I feel unsure about this, and how do I self-brand myself within companies, and who are the role models in the industry, and who can I ask for help. I think those are little things that already can make a huge impact.
I mean, that's interesting actually, around sort of connecting people. And
yeah.
I think I read somewhere that you got a sort of buddy program or something like that. Is that right? You've got.
I think the Middle East chapter was mentioning at one point the mentorship programs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Victoria, is that right?
Yeah, so I think the Middle East chapter will probably operate on a slightly different, I mean, we just have taken a lot of regional considerations. You know, this is just the setup is very different over here. So we have to think about what value we are giving back to the industry without overstepping the mark, or I think what's been really good for us is that what the Women in Exhibitions Network has done is make something that's very accessible. So it's a sort of ready-made network that is much friendlier and easier to approach. So you sort of don't have to be nervous. I mean, I don't struggle with having much, you know, shame or embarrassment. It's not a problem I have, but you know, other people do. You know, if you're shy and if you struggle but you believe in the power of the network, but you just don't really know where to get started, there is so much value in sort of being welcomed into the fold like this, and just not having to kind of rely on your buddies, especially when you think about taking next steps in your career as well, is you know, asking people who are already there, and asking people who might be able to help you get there in a more formal setting is invaluable.
Actually, you mentioned around confidence. I mean, that quite nicely leads on to Claire, who has afternoon, Claire. You've launched Think Shop, which is a training program. Can you tell us more in association with women?
Sure. I'll tell you a little bit behind how we came to that point. We obviously Shine Smith pioneers rebooking sales, and we have quite a different approach, which the Academy has been with us all the way. And even going forward with what's happening now in the future, which you were talking about earlier, we're reinventing our training, you know, to fit with the changing landscape. That's always updating. But the Academy for the last few years has worked with one of the public sectors in the UK, where breaking through the glass ceiling for women has been phenomenally difficult to get to that senior leadership team. I can't say who it is, but it's a very traditional organisation. So they've been working with coaching modules to empower, if you like, or to teach women more in a cognitive way how they look at themselves, to give the confidence and to navigate through that company, which is, as I say, it's a public sector, very traditional, very male-oriented company, to be able to reach those senior leadership levels. This, married with our 25 years worth of exhibition experience, when I fortunately ran into Anna at the AEO conference last year, and we talked about this, it seemed a natural progression to be able to tell her about the success our Academy had within that public sector, which was very challenging, how we overcome it, and the modules that we used, brought into the Shine Smith Academy, what we do for our exhibitors on site and our freelance team and our full-time employees, to navigate and find something that we could put back into Women in Exhibition Network. So the idea came from bringing the two together, and we've worked with Oana to it's on the web, it's actually on the Women Exhibition Network, to put these modules in place. Now, the Think Shop series is 6 interconnected, very short bites of what we can do. And what you can take from those is just practical, everyday tools that you'll learn from, that you can apply to how you think around people, how you're perceived, possibly confidence. People can outwardly seem confident, but they don't always really feel that underneath, and how you can navigate your way through these as to get to sea level, you know, and those challenges, and the way you think about those challenges that can be quite negative. How am I ever going to get there? So it's sort of turning the traditional training or empowerment on its head. And whether you make it there or not, these skills are life. You use them, you can use them in everyday life. So to be able to offer them out to this network, I think it's a fantastic industry, and we're really proud to be able to do that.
It sounds absolutely fantastic. I know we put it in exhibition news. It's actually in the digital issue. It's just come out now, and a spread, and we also posted something online as well on the exhibition news website. I've got questions coming in from quite a few, actually, coming in from people out there listening, which is great. So keep the questions flooding in. First question I want to tackle, I think I'll give this one to Anna, is tell me, what do employers need to do to guarantee that women get to C-level positions? What's the message that you
that is a huge assignment for employers. I think we need to turn it a little bit around, and to look at what women should do should gain a knowledge to get there. Of course, it's always from two sides, and I think employers can play a role in setting in place the right programs for women to enroll in, and to follow them and follow their growth. And next to that, empower the teams or stimulate the teams to choose for an educational program, to choose to work on themselves, because they might discover they have talent elsewhere, and are on the wrong place. And in this way, I think for the employers in the exhibition industry, it's also very important to retain the right people in the industry. So it is in their own benefit to set some programs in place.
Right.
Sooner than later.
I think one of the things that I saw a comment in the sidebar there, I think from Miriam, saying that, you know, this is a conversation we've been having for 25 years and has anything really changed? And I think it's a very fair comment to make. But I think there's a couple of things that we have an opportunity around right now. I think firstly, it's about involving men in the equation. It's not a conversation about women by women. It's a conversation for the industry about women involving men, and how we can address it together. So we have to attack this as in solidarity, not one against the other. But secondly, I feel like right now is an incredibly interesting time, because we're all talking about how industries are going to reset. We're not going back to the new normal, and a lot has been learnt during this time of COVID and lockdown. Depending on different countries, we've had different levels of lockdown and normality put into different places. So I think one of the things that I've seen here is that, you know, we talked about the childcare issue previously. More women stay at home with children, but what we've realised during the lockdown period is that under immense stress, under immense strain, often without the right tools and the right systems, we've managed to get on, work from home, juggle work, childcare, shopping, care of others, and all of those other things in really abnormal, highly stressful circumstances. It's not sustainable, but what we discovered is it's possible. So if we use that as a baseline for resetting and say, you know, we know it's possible, but now if we start adding back in some of that infrastructure, childcare, schools, and some of that normality, team that with flexibility of hours, opportunities to work from home, actually those barriers you've seen previously, which are sometimes but not always, often but not always, based around childcare and maternity, suddenly disappear, because we've proven we can, as an industry and many other industries, we can do this and juggle everything and still be productive. So it's a brilliant time to reset how we operate.
I've got a question for everyone that's listening. As long as you know how to use your show of hands feature in Zoom, can you raise your hands? How many of you think that there is a problem with women at achieving very senior positions within organisations?
I couldn't hear a question, sorry. Can you repeat it, please?
I'll repeat it, yeah. So
sorry.
the hands are going up. The question is, how many people out there that are listening to this debate believe that women are getting to senior positions within the exhibition industry? And as it stands right now, we've got 137 people listening live at the moment, and 32 have put their hands up. So I think it's fairly clear that 2/3 of people don't believe that's the case. So that's quite interesting. I've got another question from looks as though Lean In co-founder Rachel Thomas, and she's used the quote, "Men are typically hired based on potential and what we believe they can do. Women are typically hired and promoted based on what they have accomplished." And she believes this could be an unconscious bias that's creating issues for women getting to C-level positions. Does anyone want to have a go at answering that?
I'll take that one. I think as humans, not men, not women, just as humans, it's very easy to just do what we're comfortable with. And traditionally, more men have been at those top levels. In the UK, you know, we have seen female MDs. There's plenty of incredible female managing directors now, but they're really sort of that first generation. So traditionally, that top level has been male, specifically here in the UK, but obviously further afield. So it's very easy to just turn to, oh, you know, there's an opportunity, a speaking opportunity, there's a development opportunity, I'll just turn to my usual suspects. And actually, it's just about opening your mind and looking at your entire talent pool and realizing that instead of just going to those that I always go to, I should look at who else is out there and who else is in that talent pool. And I do think that sort of feeds into it, because if we're looking at that sort of the ones we're familiar with, they generally are the more experienced males who've made it to sort of that senior level. So actually, let's just open our minds and don't just go with what is easy and familiar. There's plenty of younger males out there who are incredibly talented, and females. And I think if we just open up that talent pool, we'll start redressing the balance.
Claire, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think for me as well, it's pushing yourself outside that comfort zone and putting yourself forward, not thinking about it. And I think sometimes we're always a little bit, oh, shall I, shan't I? Or no, let's just do it. And literally putting yourself forward for those roles, even if you know, and how do I get there? And having that support, like you say, about a community that can give you that support, because you can have somebody that would be amazing, but it's just making that initial step to go out of something that's not, it's familiar, it's new, it's unknown, but actually putting yourself there.
Right, okay. I've got one last question I'm going to tackle for a moment. Is, well, it's sort of born out of somebody's question. It doesn't say who it's from, but they were talking about, or they mentioned about kind of statistically, how has this sort of progressed over the last sort of 5-10 years, and is it progressively improving the number of people at sea level? And more importantly, I guess, are there any plans to kind of set targets? Does anyone have a feeling that by say 2020 we should have 50% female, 50% male? Luana, do you want to have a go at that?
But maybe it's personally, I don't believe in those things. I still believe that women and men should have the same chances to get the job, and the choice should be made based on their capacity and on their skills and on where they are. So no, I'm not an advocate of introducing some quota on that. I don't think it will help on the long term.
And I agree with Juana entirely. This isn't about positive discrimination. This is about just making sure we are addressing the whole talent pool, not just those who've traditionally been there at the top.
Yes.
Good, okay.
We see that here in Germany, it's a bit more complicated. I think it's a mixture between saying to the young students, although you are female, you can make it to the top. Although it's hard for them when you only see male professors and male teachers, so female students and male teachers. So this is there, it starts already. It might start during the kindergarten, but when you decided already for economics, to study economics or for trade show business, then this is the next step when you are 20 or 21 or 23, whatever. Yeah, when you make your step into the industry. So then this starts as you have a lot of male people in front of you, and this is the first thing. The other thing is that we see in Germany a lot of when there is a new position or a new CEO, when they look for a new CEO, then you can hear more and more. It would be great to have, when there are CEOs, that is one of them female, the other one male. So they try to reach these that there are both genders on the top level, but we are not on the step right now. I mean, as Kirsten said, in Düsseldorf, we will now have another woman in this position, but we have some other big messes where no woman in the second level. So, and you have to have a woman in the second level so that they can reach the first level. That's a simple fact. So I don't think it will be a topic for the next 2 years. It will need more than 2 years.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've got some very very smart people here today. So let's talk about COVID, and let's talk about how our industries or our sectors have evolved, off the back of COVID, and if there are any lessons that we've learned within our respective sectors. So I'm going to hit Victoria with that question first.
I mean, it's been just a journey and a half. I count myself incredibly lucky, not least because I'm still here and I'm still in my current position in the events sector. But I work in I think in exhibitions you sort of work in two sectors, don't you? You work in the exhibitions industry and you work in the sector that you serve, that your exhibition serves. So for me, that's education technology. So I might be the wrong person to ask, because we're actually experiencing quite a boom. So the organizations that we speak to, I mean, our clients include, Zoom, for example, who are seeing user numbers and profit levels go through the roof, and company valuations that are absolutely crazy, and actually companies that are scaling up globally from our exhibitor list. But obviously the question that we have is how we serve these customers, and then in turn serve these communities digitally, which is really, really difficult. And I think you touched on it earlier, or actually it might have been before the webinar started, about this kind of terrifying step as exhibition organizers of broadcasting your content out of the show floor, off the show floor, because you live and breathe for visitor numbers as an exhibition organizer. So it is scary that you are directing them to somewhere virtually that isn't your show floor, that isn't your theater. It's really difficult, and it is definitely a mindset shift to think about directing people anywhere else. It's terrifying. I mean, we had started the conversation with the show that I run because we cover the Middle East and Africa, and we're thinking about less developed nations and where it might be difficult for people to travel of broadcast, but we sort of hadn't made the leap because of, I guess, this fear. And I think actually now what coronavirus taught us, actually we sort of just need to step over it, leap over that hurdle, which is fear of taking content away from physical visitors.
Yeah, so we're talking about hybrid models, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what about you, Julianne? You're a supplier. How's the COVID-19 impacted?
There are different things I see. I mean, it's just something I feel now, what I hear. We talk a lot with different organizers. I'm really curious what will happen with the German trade show business, because we are now one of the biggest players worldwide, and we have very, very international shows here. And I'm really afraid of seeing the first shows running in autumn this year, some international shows, how many visitors they will attract. So this is a major, there will be a major change. But at the end, it will be interesting to see what will happen in Asia, what will happen in America, and we're here in Europe. So will we have in Europe only regional shows or national shows or whatever? That is already a massive would be a massive step for Germany because we are not national. We always thought we are one of the leaders worldwide, so we cannot do these regional shows. We want to have more, of course, as the English organizers want as well. I mean, they are international players as well. So this is one thing I'm really curious to see, and I still hear some organizers saying they don't want to have digital twins or hybrid events because they want to kind of protect their real life market brands. And what? So I deeply believe in, it's not the digital twin. It might be right now for spring and summer, it might be an option. And it might be in the future a kind of standard for a smaller, for special content, for a special target group, especially the international visitors, of course. But I believe really strongly in content platforms that are no longer there for 3 or 4 days, but for the whole year. And this is what we've been talking about for 10 years already. And only a very few organizers did their job. And I'm afraid that the data's still, or the database might be not that good to do that just like that. It's again about the data. So there is a lot of work to do, but exciting times. And I think those who are really interested in their industries, so in their companies who they work for and in the new innovations, they will find their way for sure. It will be different. There might be smaller margins. That's the truth at the end. But there will be ways. So, but you have to be curious and you have to try out. You have to try out the changes and just do it. Yeah.
I mean, I guess in a way, obviously I worked in marketing for 10 years in exhibition organisers. And one of the things that always used to drive me bonkers was that I have these vast databases and there'd be a finite number or a percentage of those that actually come to my events. And then, of course, you always sat there as a marketer thinking, well, how the hell am I supposed to engage with the other couple 100,000 people on my database? And I guess, in a way, that's kind of fueling this sort of debate around creating hybrid models, that you have your live exhibition, of course, for people to touch and feel and enjoy products and have that social interaction. But equally, you've got a big database in there. So Soraya, what do you think? What's Montgomery? How are they responding?
I think as an industry, I think we'd possibly be naive to think that we're going to go back to the normal that we had before and events will just stay the same. As Julianne said, we've all been talking about digital strategies for 10 years, but not many people have actually made a huge amount of impact. But we've been forced to right now. I don't think any of us want to get away from the face-to-face, the interaction of live events that we all love. It's those delighting moments we get from a show where we bump into somebody we didn't know we were going to bump into and a new relationship forms or whatever else. And that's hard to replicate digitally. It doesn't mean it's impossible, but it's quite difficult to do. But the reality is we probably every single business right now is ramping up their digital strategies, and going forward, whatever this looks like, year-round engagement, content, online marketplaces, as well as to supplementing live events, is going to be the new normal. And I think that in itself also offers opportunities for a new part of the talent pool. We're traditional in exhibitions, and we say we have operations people, sales people, and marketing people, and they're the 3 types of people who work in exhibitions. Well, actually, in this digital age, we need to be looking wider. We need to be finding tech experts, those who know about how to integrate systems, those who can code and write programs. And I'm no tech expert myself, but actually it's a whole nother skill set that even if we have digital marketeers within our business, they're not necessarily equipped with the skills to take events to that digital level. And actually, like I said, that's a different talent pool. And a lot of these sort of tech experts are the younger generation coming through. So we can create opportunities for you young females coming through as well as males.
Yeah, I've got a question coming through from, well, funny enough, you mentioned Miriam earlier. Somebody mentioned Miriam. Miriam Siegler, Ways and Means.
That's me. She wrote a comment on the side about the same debate for 25 years, which I agree with.
Do you have a view on that? She's just mentioned that, she's been in the industry 25 plus years. And she just feels like we've been having the same conversation over and over again. Isn't it? She's asking, is it time to change tactics? Do you want to have a go at that one, Soraya?
Yeah, I think in a way, sort of what I referred to earlier, we do have this industry-wide and actually, let's be honest, global opportunity to reset whatever it is we're doing. Whatever was the norm back in January and February this year will no longer be the norm. So actually, when we're resetting and thinking about digital events and the future of our industry, it's also an opportunity to address this subject differently. And I think, that's sort of, I know I sort of said that before, but I think that's the main thing here. It is a different time. It's not just having the same conversation again.
Kirsten, what's your view? How are you connecting with your customers? How are you operating?
You mean right now during this period? I think that's for us. It's what everybody else said, that there are a lot of thoughts of how hybrid events could work for the future. We strongly believe in face-to-face, and we strongly believe as well in live experience here, because as everybody said, it's different, but nevertheless, and I personally, I think it's not only about hybrid and about digital formats coming, but as well, this is now the time of rethinking formats in general, because I think that at least in Germany, we have a lot of very, very traditional formats still, and content is something which is really it's more and more important anyway. So this is, for me, it's just another, if you look to the hybrid formats, it's just another thing to bring more content to live experience and the other way around. And I think you are totally right. We never reached all people, although we have them in the database. So it could be really a very good idea to bring them closer to a community by thinking about digitalization and hybrid formats. But nevertheless, at the moment, we are much more not focused, but we also have to think on how we are going to succeed in having the life experience trade shows for autumn. So it's a lot of thoughts as well of how to deal with all the restrictions we have, and with the contact problems, and with all. So it's also interesting to see how life trade shows can take place right now and what to do with these things. So it's both we have to think about.
Well, I can assure you that there's certainly the UK and many other countries are going to be watching avidly what happens in Germany over the
yeah. I can imagine, and it's what Juliana as well
This is
said.
we don't want to hear.
No.
Just stay at home.
No, but it's
shut the door.
I think our biggest problem is really that we have the huge global trade shows, and this is for example, we will have the Caravan Salon at the beginning of September. This will be hopefully our first event we are going to have, and it's difficult enough, but it's a national, at least at the visitor side, it's a regional trade show. So it's not about travel restrictions and all of that. But if you look to our international trade shows, then it's much more difficult, and we are depending on the world. So yeah, let's working together on that.
Well, we're all going to be watching, no pressure. Claire.
I'd just like to make a point on that. Obviously, we're working a lot. We're a supplier, so we're ensuring every day that our team are up to date with the newest regulations, the spacing, how it's going to work at a show, especially within the live events industry. How many you can gather together, how you're going to navigate around an exhibition, and all the new sizes of reselling the actual stand spaces, what they're going to look. It's a constant connecting with our clients. But I think that the exhibition companies are going to need to invest quite a little bit more coaching or training in their sales team to be able to, the next stage, deliver that to their clients, because it's not just picking up the phone going, hello, the stand, the sponsorship, floor tiles, or whatever you're selling. It's going to be a whole new a positioning, and they're going to ask a lot of questions, because in their mind, what is it going to look like to them? So it's quite a big thing that new messaging for them to deliver out to their clients.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
It's a really interesting time. I mean, I'd absolutely hate to work in events right now. I mean, it must be so incredibly frustrating. Imagine working in operations or marketing, going, right, it's on, then it's off, then it's on, then it's off. Victoria, when's Bet next?
So Bet Global, the UK event is in January.
January.
My one's in December, moved from September. We were actually one of the first to move our show, probably or the earliest to move a September show to later in the year, because we work on an academic calendar and we could just see it wasn't going to make sense, even if we physically could have a trade show in September. If everybody is immediately just back into school, they're just not going to be able to take the time out to come to a show. So yeah, we've had our own moves. I mean, Bet as a portfolio, obviously, it's been interesting. We're a very centralized group on the portfolio that I work on. So we're now in the business of moving events really at the moment, which has been taking up an awful lot of our time. So that includes, we have Bet Asia, we've got Bet Brazil, we've got Bet UK, and then obviously Bet MEA. So you've got regional considerations with every single event as well. So yeah, very bizarre time.
Yeah. Let's talk about kind of reshaping. So what are going to be the roles that are kind of fundamental in the new normal, or the events of tomorrow? Luana, do you want to have a go at that question? What are the big roles that
yes.
are going to make a difference?
I think you mean the roles in terms of
new normal. So you know,
the new normal.
How we evolve.
I think the new normal will be that events finally discovered that there is something else that is called an online audience next to the really practical visitors that we are used to welcome at our shows. I really think that I see a bright future for our industry, as this pandemic really taught us how important the industry is and how hungry we will be to get to see each other again and do business, because yeah, what my colleagues also say, it's nothing compared with face-to-face doing business. You can't compare it with anything else. It's the best way to do it. And I expect, obviously, that we might travel a little bit less than in the past, and we are more careful with the CO2 emissions, and we're more taking into account what this does with the world. It was a little bit of a wake-up call. But at the same time, it was a wake-up call to redesign the industry and think again of the new developments that should be taken into account. And I think from a venue perspective, as I represent MECC as a venue, I think we really, in these times of COVID-19, we discovered how important a relationship with the organizer is. We discovered that this entire industry is all about having partnerships, good partnerships, and that we can survive also in these times if we have it well at place. And that kind of helped us to. We were constantly thinking of how can we help our industry, how can we help these organizers that really have to deal with cancellations and things that they didn't think about last year, that we help them go through it. And I think this pandemic brought us closer together.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in a way, I guess what the point I'm making, and actually the last question that's just been sent in, sort of asked the question, well, you know, how many people are getting into C-level roles from, say, sales positions, etc. And I think the point I'm making is, as this industry reboots, there are a handful of roles that are actually going to save us. And let's be clear about that. Operations is one of those. Marketing is another one, and sales is another one. And these are the lifeblood of organizations. And I guess there are three roles. Operations, let's be clear, and maybe this is a little controversial, I don't know, but operations is mainly female. Is that fair to say?
It is. I think I saw Julian's question on there about sort of more males in C-level positions, because more people go into C-level positions from the sales background, and there's possibly a balance towards an imbalance towards more males in the sales profession. But I think it doesn't matter which type of role we're talking about, actually as an industry, we need to be thinking about how we're attracting talent into the industry. And there's a lot of work done around male and female language, and most sales job specs say words like, I'm looking for a hungry, person, a driven person. This is very heavily male language. And I know there's lots of comments I've seen around unconscious bias and things like this. This is sort of in the same pot. And if we're promoting these roles using very heavily male language, which we certainly do in sales, but also at times in other disciplines, it's not going to encourage female to apply for those roles. And I think we need to PR the industry in a more balanced way.
Yeah.
But this is really funny to hear, because until now I thought the English language is much more gender balanced. Because Germany, this is much more harder. When you go to the websites, you see everywhere male words. Only the HR department, because they want to attract the female, but everything else is male domain. So this is funny to hear that there are English impressions as well, attracting more male applicants at the end. It's the same. So, but this is definitely, I mean, it's not just the language, it's also the pictures we use. Are there older white males on it, or men on it, or is there more bigger diversity?
I think that's really interesting about what you say about even just using the pictures. I think, and one thing that we can do as a group is call out, is sort of let this word diversity infect absolutely everything that you think about and that you do. So when you see it, you're prepared to hit the button and say, actually, you know what, that doesn't sit quite right, or that's not right. So if it's always in what you're doing, and if you're watching a webinar like this, or if you're whatever you're doing, if diversity just infects your thought process, that's going to enable kind of a mindset change. If you just call it out when you see it and be brave and say that's not right, I think that's going to be a really strong position that any women in any industry, well, actually anybody in any industry, and it doesn't just apply to women, that's people of color, that's ageism, that's anything, but just let yourself be infected by the idea that everything that you see should have an aspect of diversity to it. I think that's going to be really strong for us.
We've only got a couple more minutes left. I'll just tackle this one last question, because when anyone says an elephant in the room, it's like a red rag to a bull to someone like me, a humble journalist. But yeah, I mean, somebody's saying that basically that we have women are employed in the biggest exhibition companies, but actually being paid less than men. What do you do about that?
Well, I think first we have to redress the balance and get those females into the C-suite, and then they're in a position to actually afford change. So I agree, it's a huge issue. It is off-putting to people. Why would they want to stay in the industry if they don't feel like they're being paid the same as their male counterparts? But we've got to tackle the problem from the bottom up, and actually by getting more females into those senior positions, they are then in a position to resolve that. Whereas when we're not at the table, we don't have a voice.
Influence.
Yeah, a question from Nick Dugdale Moore. He said, what can men do to support change? So do you want to have a go at this one, Oana, actually?
Yeah.
What can men do to support change?
I think men should advocate women in leadership positions, and I think they should help us get there. They should make sure that their teams have the chance to grow, receive the chance to grow, and are invited. The women are invited at the table and are part of the discussion, and not only of what is being decided for them.
Okay.
Steps for men.
I would have another idea. I mean, I don't know if slogans like new work and new leadership are as famous everywhere as it here is in Germany. And I think when we speak about these new concepts, and especially we've seen this during these Corona times, those leaders who worked very open with the situation and discussed the team and saw the team as really a team and not just the persons who work for them. So if you really live this idea of new leadership, and if you really practice agile working, so then at the end the work is visible, And then it's simply no longer relevant if this is a male or female. So if you only speak about positions, if you speak about the time you've spent in the office, then it might be more male. I don't know. I don't want to say male bad or whatever, but I think when the more we work with new leadership concepts, with new work concepts, and it's easier for the gender topic to come into a position that it might not be an issue in 6-8 years. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, thanks to Liz Agostini, who is one of the board members on MASH Media. She introduced me to Women in Exhibitions Network when we launched the UK chapter at Convex, International Convex, and that gave me a really, really strong understanding of the subject and the and the issues, and it was really well attended, the launch, actually, I think. And I guess my last question for today is, what are the plans for exhibitions, Women in Exhibitions Network going forward?
No, I was just going to say, from the UK point of view, as you know, the launch happened at Convex. So we did this incredible launch, did a huge survey afterwards asking people what they want from the network, and then very quickly went into lockdown mode, and I think everyone sort of put their heads down into survival. So timing wasn't ideal because we couldn't kind of continue on that traction. Now things have settled a little. There's a lot of work going on in the background. So beginning with the Think Shop series that Claire has put together for the women in exhibitions industry, which is actually some tangible learnings and courses that women can embark on, which is incredible. On top of that, we've got feedback now from the survey we did after the event at Convex to ask, to work out what the women in our network do want from it. So the next stage is sort of pulling that apart and then putting some new initiatives in place. But I think the feeling is there'll be things around networking, mentoring, and they won't all be exclusive female-only events, but they'll be raising the subject of bringing females through the industry.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think just to add to that, we are having plans to go internationally, and we already have some discussions with some friends from the USA. So we are obviously looking at covering also other regions next to the regions that we have now. So that is for sure our plan. And in terms of educational program, I want to make a call to all women and men listening. We have this platform on our wonderful website where you can leave your ideas behind, because as a founder of this community, I really think it's important to keep listening to all our community, to women, to keep listening to what their needs are, because we can invent everything for them. At the end, we really need to know what they really want and what they really, which programs they really want to follow. And I want to take the role together with all my other colleagues to take this role on me and on us to offer the right things. And if things don't go well, I'm also open for the feedback, and I'm also open to changing certain things. So
Go on, Claire.
Can I just add that the Women in Exhibition Network already, for me especially, has been a fantastic platform to make new connections, and from a business point of view as well. So I think that's key to mention.
I've got one last question. Believe it or not, somebody directed a question at me, and it was Lou Kiranuka from Event Shaper. And she asked, what are EN going to do to help support women in exhibitions and help develop that agenda? So I can say, in answer to that question, that EN has done quite a significant amount of work around this subject already. We've been tackling the gender pay gap, and that's something that we need to do a lot more of. We've just done a very large survey coordinated with a research company that will give us some really clear understandings of what the kind of gender pay gaps are in similar roles. So we're going to be publishing some of that information over the coming days. But we are very committed to this. We're running a spread on Women in Exhibitions Network in the current issue at the moment. And, you know, my pledge really is that, you know, we'll continue to cover any female leaders that, you know, that are out there in the marketplace. I'm constantly speaking to lots of people all the time. I'm very mindful of, you know, who appears in my magazine, and that I'm not just writing about men, I'm writing about women too. And, you know, from my point of view, I think that's a big thing for us to commit to. You know, that's my pledge, I guess, for me, Ian, is that we just continue to support you guys, continue writing about women, continue telling it as it is. So if we find something out, we're not going to run away from it. We'll tackle it head on and we'll publish it. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone in the panel for joining us today. It's been absolutely brilliant. I think that pretty much wraps up our debate today. Thank you everyone, by the way, for coming and watching this debate too. It's really, really important. Thank you for being part of that. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.